What is your real role?
Oh, my real role is to love everyone and forgive, including myself.
Good for you.
Mainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a strange thing, isn't it, to think of being in the situation that you're in and recognizing that it's yourself that has to be forgiven. What did you do? What role did you play that could possibly have brought this about? Well, the fact of the matter is, if we were to see through the eyes of the Christ in us, what would we see in this world drama that of our stories that we're all telling? What would we see?
Nothing that's real.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Brian, not being real?
Well, I think of it like a movie. We're all actors in the movie. Because the word projection is in here, and I always think of the projector projecting this story out onto the screen of time and space.
Yeah.
And it's not real, but we can sit there and watch a movie over and over again if we want to. It appears like we want to. Because that's what you keep telling me.
I remember asking Brother once what he meant by things being real and things not being real. And he said, do you suppose there is something other than love in the mind of God? And that was not a foolish question, because obviously we all do. But I said, mostly not. Mostly not. And he said, that's the difference between what's real and what's not. What you believe is present in the mind of God.
So if we know he holds only love, then we see only love. But if we think he's mostly holds love, then we have that little margin to see something different.
And that's the margin we most of us live in, right?
And that's the margin to forgive. I mean, for me, when you said that just now, forgive myself. It's, yeah, and the main forgive myself for getting caught up at all.
Yeah, it doesn't
because most of the time there's no caught upness. It's just I'm there and I'm performing my role and I'm happy and I feel pretty free of it, And today was feeling like got caught up and needing to address that,
Forgiveness infrequently is for the things that we have accused ourselves for, but even more frequently than that, the meaning of forgiveness is to see differently.
Where I've had, and I still have, very difficult times is believing that the world I see will change, will actually change when I change my mind. But I had a pretty good example of that when I went to the dentist on one day and got a teeth cleaning and everything, and it's been good for years. I try to take care of it. And so all through the cleaning, the dental assistant just mentioned, you got some plaque, you're going to need to brush a little better and this and that. And it had been a year since they recommend every 6 months. So anyway, never heard a word about anything. The dentist came in like he usually does and check it out. And he said, okay, well, let's see. It looks like there's a little problem here with this one crown. We'll have to replace that. We'll set up an appointment and get her done. Okay, and then he was out of the room. And I had a bunch of x-rays taken. And I had a situation a few years ago, and he's a really good dentist, and he got an award from Best in Kitsap County and all of that. But I he replaced the crown about 4 years ago, and I had a gold crown on top of that, and I had no problem with it. But he said it needed to be replaced. So he cuts the gold crown out, and he was showing me on the x-ray where there's a problem under the gold crown. Well, it turns out under the gold crown was some kind of hard metal amalgam type of thing. And I think that's what was showing up on the x-ray. He was trying to grind away at that. I got the distinct feeling he made a mistake. He didn't know what was under there, but it looked like a cavity. It looked like decay, because I had no problem with the tooth whatsoever. And that metal was so hard, he could not get it out of there. And I knew he couldn't. And he kept changing instruments. And finally he said, well, okay, we'll put the crown on. And so he ended up just putting a crown over that. And then a couple years later, Patty and I are at a restaurant, and I'm having spaghetti, and all of a sudden there's a bone in my spaghetti. And lucky I didn't break all my other teeth. That thing just came off. And we were on a trip, so I had to be without it for a couple weeks. To get back, he can't work me in right away. By the time he works me in, the gum had grown over, so he had to use a laser to burn that gum out so that he could then put the crown back on. And meanwhile, I'd had trepidation because, he was charging $300 and some for a cleaning and some x-rays. Well, after all of this goes on, and I leave the cleaning, he walks out, and I'm there to pay the bill. It's $408 for x-rays and cleaning. And here's your estimate on the crown. It's just under $1,500. And, when can you get me in? We're going on a trip. By the way, we won't be here for the next 2 weeks. We just happen to have an opening. We have an opening Thursday. And we can get you in Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. And then again at 11:30 to put the crown in. It'll all be done before you go. So I take all of this home with me on Monday night. And I'm mulling all of this stuff over. And I'm going through scenarios. And I'm thinking, this just isn't adding up here. Something's not working right here. And finally, I guess I asked myself, what do you see happening that's going to make you feel good about this? What scenario do you see that's going to make you feel good about this? And I realized, I just don't trust the dentist. And I got the message, who don't you trust? Oh, I don't trust me. It's me I don't trust. And I projected it onto the dentist. I thought, I'm going to do this a little differently. I went there on Thursday. Hi, how's everything going? Everything fine, this and that. They, take the old crown out, do the work. He does the anesthetic, and it goes real well. There's no problem. Then I go and leave after he gets that out. And they do all the measurements with a camera that actually takes a whole bunch of pictures. And he said, we got a new one ordered that takes 50,000 pictures per second and automatically corrects for errors if the pictures that they don't exactly line up, it tosses those out. And just, anyway, everything's fine. It's just open there, ready for a crown. I come back a few hours later, he's got the tooth. He puts it in. It fits perfectly. All he has to do is make sure he can get floss on each side. Doesn't even have to polish the top or anything else. And the receptionist says, we need to give you another shot? And I said, I don't think so. And she said, well, here, try to blow some air. No, that's wonderful. We don't have to give you another shot. It's held on for these hours. Puts that on there. I don't even have to polish it, she said, because he didn't have to grind any off. It's perfect. Went to pay the bill and get there, and she says, well, it'll be $1,300 and some. We realized that on your x-rays, we didn't know you didn't have insurance, so we took more x-rays than we needed, so we're going to credit you for all of those. And so it was less money than it was supposed to be. And I walked out thinking, you know, maybe that's a good lesson for me that I don't have to keep repeating. Who was it that I didn't trust? What was I projecting? Until I realized I saw no good outcome for that at all.
You know, some of you may remember Randall and his wife Rosie, who came here for a while. Well, they've been divorced now for several years, and she lives in Oregon. But Randall really got into this book, studied it on his own. And he comes to a couple of our groups now. But he was mentioning yesterday, and I wish I could remember exactly what it was, because I was talking about some difficulty in my life, and he said something about, well, this is you unraveling. I kind of like that word, unraveling. You know, as this book says, it's about undoing. You know, and I should have written it down because it really sounded profound to me. The difficulties like you're talking about, Nicole, or maybe that's the unraveling of who we think we are.
And what we think the world is, and who we think everyone else is.
Yeah.
And our relationships.
Yeah. Randall has changed big time since he used to come here.
He was pretty far on his way when he was coming here. He had his own journey, and he knew it.
Yeah.
And you know, there are people that come to the group and then don't always come back, or everybody's on their perfect journey. And I think he's on his perfect journey.
I've noticed I'm crying all the time. Everything gets to me. I mean, and not negative or anything like that, but in church Sunday, oh my God, the sermon was so beautiful, and all kinds of different things happening at the church, and I can't stop crying, and I felt like I'm just opening up. I'm letting go. I'm just to be.
That's me. Too.
Surrendering something.
Big lessons in letting go.
Yeah.
That's nice, honey.
That's a well-known phase in the spiritual evolution department. You go through a phase where everything just tears you up because your heart is so now sensitive. And the love of divinity just, it's well known.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me now. I figured that out. It must be something, because I'm sure Nicole knows. She had to hold me at church.
Not too much though. You just continue to walk around and cry. It's perfect. I just told you several times, oh good. It's good.
Well,
Yeah, as men, we will tend to, not allow that to come up. If this feels like it's not quite masculine enough or something, till you get over that.
I think that's one of the main reasons men don't want to accompany their dates to those tearjerker movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think they don't want to be caught with a tear in their eye in that movie.
I love it.
I love it when it happens.
Yeah.
I'm mush.
You're mush. I feel mush.
Betty and I had an interesting experience. The teachers of God in the multitude of forms. We were in the process of buying some appliances, and I worked with this gentleman and had really a wonderful interaction with him for probably an hour and a half as we're sorting through everything. And this is in Bellingham, and it was a locally owned appliance store, and I kind of liked the local aspect of it. But there's also another locally owned shop there. And so I just asked him, I says, there's another locally owned shop. How is it that we should do business with you? And he stops. And I'm waiting. We're waiting. And he says, you're asking me to...
place myself above someone else.
And I can't do
I can't
that.
do it.
You're asking me to what?
Place myself above someone else, and I can't do it. And it was so sincere. It was so beautiful.
It
I
was
just wanted to weep across that
There's the
table.
reason.
He told you right there why you should be doing business.
Yeah.
It was the right man for you.
And I think of what we were in last week, the body's eyes will continue to see differences, and it's like, what is it that we're after, and then it was, and the stillness of it was, it was just, you could just feel it, truth, bam, and such a beautiful interaction.
Yeah.
There's
That's a
plenty of
pretty heavy
reason.
question you asked me,
Wow.
too.
There's plenty of reason to do business with that guy right there.
Yeah, so the sale was done.
Yeah.
The sale was already done.
I think there's another aspect too. Isn't that just marvelous? I mean, we're used to having those kind of answers come out of our friends, our groups. But someone you've never met out there, who seems to be out there in the world, who's really one with us, has that idea. It really does.
Isn't there a story with
Go.
Jesus at the
Out of the
table
world.
and somebody comes in and
Yeah.
they sit furthest at the end and he says, come up closer. Because he humbled himself. Something like that.
I think it was marvelous that you made him feel safe enough.
Say that again.
I think it's marvelous that you made him feel safe enough to be able to do that.
That's a real good point.
It was, I was touched with his groundedness to have that relativity. Because I don't know if I would have it myself.
Oh, you did. But you did have it.
Yeah, the interest, it's just like Tom's story. There's nothing happening out there.
Yeah.
There's nothing happening out there.
Was that the Last Supper, Doyle, you're talking
I'm not
about?
sure.
That's when he said, hey, all you guys want to be in the picture, get on this side of the table.
He said, yeah.
We've been missing Sam Clark,
Has anybody heard from Sam?
Yes, I did.
How is he?
We're friends on Facebook, and he says they're doing fine. He said he hopes to be back pretty soon. We didn't really do any details or anything, but we're going to get together for dinner in about a week's time.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Good, Will.
And he said he hopes to be back pretty soon, but we're going to meet him and Peggy for
Going through
dinner.
some challenges.
We're going out of town to a graduation this weekend, so we couldn't do it this week, but the week after we're going to get together for dinner.
Please extend
Yeah, our love.
our
to
love,
him.
my
Yeah.
love.
Mine
I'm
too.
sorry, not quite.
Extend our love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I will, definitely.
Yeah.
He responded to some, we've been friends on Facebook for a while. Peggy and I requested friendship, and then he joined. And he responded to something that we shared.
I saw that.
And so, yeah. So anyway, I was excited. I felt very heartwarming that he's reaching out.
That's
I
great.
didn't think about to tell everybody, though. I'm sorry about that. But I'm glad somebody mentioned it.
Anybody else have anything you'd like to share? Hello?
What's that?
Anything you'd like to share?
Well, we took a vacation for about, 9-10 days. Just took a ride down the coast of Washington and Oregon and the northern part of California. I was wanting to go to Disney World. I've been there, but I didn't go as a patron. My niece was performing there. So she was in one of the hotels but she does hula. You know, she lives in Florida. But anyway, I couldn't put the trip together. And I checked the prices a couple of times, but I just assumed that was, for some reason I wasn't putting it together, so I didn't fight it. I thought, I don't know why, I just not into it enough to put it together. So I kind of left it open. I said, well, we'll just take a road trip, because she had already called for the time off at work. So we just took a road trip, and it was nice. Got to see the big, gigantic redwood trees, and things just worked out really good. We went to go down and see her daughter in Northern California. I had never met her. And it was good meeting her and her boyfriend, spending a couple of days with them. And then, I just kind of left it up to divinity for the next place to stay, the next hotel, where we'd end up, and how we'd go. We stopped at the Tillamook Cheese Factory again. Get those free samples. And an ice cream. And then it all just worked out. I was kind of fretting about putting the trip together for some reason. It just felt like a big ordeal to me to plan the trip to the airport and then the airfare. And then are we going to stay at Disney World? Are we going to get a room? Are we going to have a hotel shuttle back and forth? It just seemed like a big job to me. And I thought, oh, I'm tired already. I haven't even got there. So, I just didn't do it. And I guess that's the way it should have been.
Undoubtedly.
And then lately I've just been, I had some concrete poured in my garage finally. It was dirt and rock before. And now I got a level, nice concrete surface, so I'm reorganizing, putting stuff in there. I feel like it's really nice now. And then earlier, I'll just say one more thing before I blab on too much. I bought a boat yesterday, a little tiny, like a 7-foot Lincoln skiff.
Nice.
And I had bought a motor last summer, a little, like 2.5 horsepower, little nothing. And I never really tried to start it, so I was trying to start it this morning. And now it needs a fuel line. And I'm just doing everything to it. And then I pulled the little pull starter finally gave out. So I took it off, and of course I knew that spring would just go whang, and it did. And I spent an hour trying to put it together and place it in there just right. And I think those guys at the shop have a machine that helps them do that. I'll just jump and drop this off. So I threw everything together and washed the gas off of me and came here. I had gas all over me. The thing was leaking. One of the hoses were old and brittle. We put the gas in. It just needs a kind of little update, but it ought to be pretty cool. It's a little tiny motor. It weighs like 5 pounds. It's nothing. So it fits on that boat perfectly. I seen a boat out by Lake Anderson. And I was just telling my wife, I said, I seen a couple of boats I was driving by the other day, and I was going to stop and look. And I go, hey, there they are right there. She turned around. She goes, right now? And I go, yeah, right now. So I ended up buying one of them. Brought it home. It just needs cleaning up. Everything needs a little something. A little this, a little that. So I've got so many little projects like that. But this is the most important thing, coming to a group like this with this kind of intention. I thought, I do this first, and then if I have opportunity, which I'm so thankful to do, to have a group like this with everybody. And then the other stuff is just kind of something I keep interested in life about. Sorry you asked me yet?
No. Anyone else? We found a message from Brother in Linda's book the other day, and I was going to ask her if she wouldn't mind reading it. Did you bring that with you?
Is that this one?
No.
Oh, where is it? You didn't tell me. I was going to be reading it.
I think it's been there.
This one?
Let's see. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
This is 2013. As I was pondering why I don't make the choice to be free of illusions when I understand that choice, even now it seems to offer an experience so much more desirable. But I became aware of an answer I had not previously been willing to hear. It is because somewhere in my mind, I still keep hoping the world will progressively change for the better, becoming more loving and less fearful. Then I don't have to change so much because the world outside would hopefully provide the improvement I seek. And et cetera, et cetera. Then the guidance I received is that the discovery of God's presence within your mind seems to be a long journey through the ego's many layers of doubt. Recently, you have become aware of my advice given long ago in time. Ask and you shall receive. When your only desire is to find this presence you seek, then you will receive the awareness of that which has always been with you. You must truly desire to know only this presence before you can experience it. This is the meaning, the real meaning of another quotation. You shall have no other gods before me. The ego focus has been as something you value more. Another before me. Let's see, did I read that? Have no other gods before me. Okay. Now, as you are learning about this choice, it is still a concept, an understanding held apart from your experience instead of total desire. But don't feel badly about this. Your awareness of this is the beginning of how all illusions gradually fall away as you are increasingly dedicated to this purpose. Sundering every judgment you have valued for many lifetimes is not an easy change. Yet the process has already begun, and it will seem more available. Let's see. How's it done? Where did I came off of this? Okay, it will become more valuable as you dedicate more of your attention to this focus. Was there something else in there?
Oh, I think that was it.
Okay. I think that was it. Anyway, it just sort of like, don't give up. You're doing fine. I'm sure this applies to all of us. It's not an easy shift to make, but we're all doing it. It's stay the course.
Stay the course.
Stay the course. Perfect.
You reminded me, Scott Kallenstein, who now goes by the name of Scott Grace. Well, he's written a book, something about how to survive under the Trump, or through the Trump era, or something like that. Trump's name is in the title. So anyway, I know Scott, so I bought this book, and I didn't really think it was going to be much of a book. I got it on my Kindle and forgot all about it. Well, a couple of days ago, I remembered I had that, and I thought, well, I think I'll start reading it. And he said he talked to his guides about Trump, and saying that he didn't think much of him and so on. And his guides told him, he says, that he's the perfect person for that job right now. And it's, again, the word unraveling, it's all about making a big change, that he's the person that's going to instigate this change.
Trump is? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, because people are going to get upset with him and go a different way. That kind of thing. As Scott says it way better than I do. But anyway, I'm finding the book to be really good.
If you think about it, isn't he the perfect mirror for an absolute ego?
Yes,
that's exactly what Scott says.
And so anything that upsets us in that mirror of that absolute ego is something that upsets us about ourselves, that we have not let go of yet.
Yeah. That's the way he puts it too.
Yeah.
Darn, it's hard when you have to give up rejection.
Yes, it is.
Right back in your face again.
A little bit though, and then it feels so, and then it's just relaxing. Yeah.
Sort of like a Saturday afternoon
And it's just
matinee in the old
wonderful.
days. You just don't want to give up because the movie's so good you don't want to walk out into that daylight.
There you go.
Anyone else? Okay, Thomas?
All right. We are in the Manual for Teachers. We're on section 9, which is on page 26 of the Manual for Teachers.
It'll come.
I think Thursday.
Section 9,
Well,
Page
we'll see.
26.
But Thursday, definitely.
page
Yeah,
26.
26.
What page are we on?
26,
26.
yeah.
You
Okay.
didn't read it.
There it is. What change is required?
So oddly enough, what Linda just read from 2013 was a question to Brother about why can't the world change a little bit instead of me changing? And here we are. Are changes required in the life situation of God's teachers? Patty, will your allergies let you read that?
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Are changes required in the life situation of God's teachers? Changes are required in the minds of God teachers. This may or may not involve changes in the external situation. Remember that no one is where he is by accident, and chance plays no part in God's plan. It is most unlikely that changes in attitudes would not be the first step in the newly made teacher of God's training. There is, however, no set pattern, since training is always highly individualized. There are those who are called upon to change their life situation almost immediately, but these are generally special cases. By far, the majority are given a slowly evolving training program in which as many previous mistakes as possible are corrected. Relationships in particular must be properly perceived, and all dark cornerstones of unforgiveness removed. Otherwise, the old thought system still has a basis for return. As a teacher of God advances in his training, he learns one lesson with increasing thoroughness. He does not make his own decisions. He asks his teacher for his answer, and it is this he follows as his guide for action.
Can I just add some more pause there real quick? When we ask for guidance, what do you look for, as a response? Is there some kind of feeling or something that accompanies the answer to your question that you recognize or you become familiar with? Or you just carry on? Or what?
Just a feeling.
Yeah.
There are also times when the feeling that comes, I recognize as being a resistance to the real guidance. And so I have to reboot, go back and try to go through the process of surrendering again. But that's interesting, Doyle, because,
So you feel like you get the answer somewhat, and then you feel a resistance to that answer that you felt
No.
that you got?
Most of the time, I recognize the answer as being truth.
Oh.
Occasionally, I recognize the answer. I don't recognize the answer because I do recognize that I'm resisting the answer
Because you have your own agenda or something you'd like to
because
see
I have
happen?
my own agenda.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
have
of
to
course,
go back.
asks, would you rather be right or happy? That's a wonderful example.
It's like resisting to receive it.
Yeah.
A resistance to receiving it?
But resistance feels like resistance, so you know.
Mhm.
And an answer, a guidance feels like there's a tone. There's a
Okay.
different tone, and you get the sense of the tone.
Yeah. I ask all the time. I couldn't answer my own question here. I wouldn't know the difference. I guess I just continue doing what I'm going to do, and I assume that is the divine
There,
inspiration
the
to take
time
me that way.
there isn't anything, where the lights go off and on and bells and whistles go off. It's not like that. It's like that.
worded. It's more quiet. It's not like, you know.
Not like your son going off.
Yeah. It's not the big woo, you know. It's, yeah.
Yeah. Is that what kind of everybody does when they ask for guidance? Because I know we all must do that. You just kind of go by the feeling?
It has to feel loving. It has to feel... It loves me. The answer is something that says, this is for you. This is in your highest, best interest. And it's... I used to think the guidance was, you're going to have to be like Mother Teresa in Calcutta. You're going to have to sacrifice, suffer, give up a lot. And that's what... that used to be my image of what was being asked, if I do God's will. And now it's, if I don't feel loved and loving, it's not the right answer. It's not the answer.
You know,
I like that.
Buddha has that saying where he says,
And you could substitute peaceful for loving.
yeah, because I was going to say, Buddha has the saying about the right person for you. The right person doesn't give you butterflies in your stomach and make you feel this and that. The right person makes you feel calm. And so I think when the answer comes, it's calm. It's not, well, but I want to get, but, you know, it's like, oh. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how I see it. So it's like, it's not, you know, it's like the right person, the right answer. It's going to be calm. You're going to be like, yeah, okay, yeah. Like, you're not going to want to fight it, you know? I mean, that's just my the right answer feels calm. There's not a questioning about it. You just kind of know. But it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be the all moment and clouds part and all that. You'll know because you'll feel calm about it, and like you said, it'll feel loving. It won't feel, there won't be any like chaotic energy with it. It's just
feels right.
like a breath. Like,
Feels right. Right.
That,
Is
yeah.
the word I get.
yeah.
It just feels right.
Yeah. There won't be any fight with it. I guess that's kind of
Or I guess a lot of times before you know it, you're in a peaceful situation or you're at peace, and then you realize, oh,
right.
I did get the answer,
Yeah.
and it's already happened.
And I think there's a piece of it also in the quiet and piece of it. The foundation of the attributes is trust, and so with the peace is the trust, so it has to be right because it's going to play out for your goodness, whatever that may be, and so it is the turning over.
Would you start paragraph 2 again?
I was going to.
Okay.
As the teacher of God advances in his training, he learns one lesson with increasing thoroughness. He does not make his own decisions. He asks his teacher for his answer, and it is this he follows as his guide for action. This becomes easier and easier as the teacher of God learns to give up his own judgment. The giving up of judgment, the obvious prerequisite for hearing God's voice, is usually a fairly slow process, not because it is difficult, but because it is apt to be perceived as personally insulting. The world's training is directed toward achieving a goal in direct opposition to that of our curriculum. The world trains for reliance on one's judgment as a criterion for maturity and strength. Our curriculum trains for the relinquishment of judgment as the necessary condition of salvation.
That's a great analogy.
So when I read these, I usually pick out a few key words that resonate with me. And of course, one of the key ones is the changes are in the minds of God's teachers. And then everything changes. A couple other things that stand out is that by far the majority are given a slowly evolving training program. We are given a training program. That's what this is about. We are being trained to be teachers. Now, if I'm all wrapped up in my ego, that in itself is personally insulting. What? You mean I've gone through all these years and I've learned nothing? Well, that's the other part. He does not make his own decisions. That answer would be basically yes. But actually, we have learned some things. We've learned a belief system. And if we hadn't learned a belief system, we wouldn't be able to accept any training whatsoever, because our minds would be total chaos. And the Course tells us that even the ego, even you know that you've held your world together in chaos. The ego is chaos. And so there must be more to you than the ego. And this is what we offer that's being trained.
You know, the word Satan in the ancient Hebrew meant the forces of chaos. And I always think of Jesus when he said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." He's talking to his own ego. Because just before that it says that he was being told that he could have all this power and all these riches and so on. Does that sound like the ego? The forces of chaos. And the Hebrews said, if you're not aligned with God, you're aligned with the forces of chaos, which I think is the ego.
What the mind is all about is organization. In order to have anything that's meaningful whatsoever, the mind has to have a purpose, a basic, a foundation of organization. What is our foundation of organization in the world we normally see? Isn't it basically, I am a separate entity and I have to function for myself because nobody else will? That's our foundation. That's where we start from. We're being trained that there is another way. And that's personally insulting to our foundation. The other thing, the key words, the Course often personifies things that don't seem to be personal. In this case, it says the world's training for reliance on one's judgment as the criterion for maturity and strength. Our curriculum trains for the relinquishment of judgment as a necessary condition. The world's training is directed toward achieving a goal in direct opposition to that of our curriculum. The world's training. To me, that's kind of code for something else. To me, that's code for the rules of the game. The rules of the game, does that sound familiar? What is it but a children's game you play? It's the rules of the game. It's what we agreed to play out on the stage. We agreed in the general foundation. But we also agreed, I'm separate from you. We meet only when we have a common purpose. And a common purpose can be love and joining, or it can seem to be fear. But fear makes people join only for self-protection. I am safer with you than against you. The politics of fear are right in our face in that mirror, in this game, right now. It's been brought to our attention. This is what holds a base together for the group that works from fear instead of from unity. Let's talk about let's talk about the game. Let's go to workbook page 419.
Page 419.
Yes.
And let's read paragraphs 3 through 5. And Doyle, did you want to go ahead and just...
419?
Sure. 419 in the workbook.
Oh, the workbook.
Okay. What is sin, number 4?
Yes, this is in the second, part 2 of the workbook.
You said start at paragraph 3?
Yes, start at paragraph 3, but I'm going to let Tom get there because when I listen to the recording afterwards, a lot of times we're trying to speak and there's page turnings. So we'll just hold off. So if you do 3, 3, 5.
Sorry.
Sin is the home
Yes.
of all illusions, which but stand for things imagined, issuing from thoughts that are untrue. They are the proof that what has no reality is real. Sin proves God's Son is evil. Timelessness must have an end. Eternal life must die. And God himself has lost the Son he loves. But with corruption to complete himself, he will forever overcome by death, love slain by hate, and peace to be no more. You want me to do 4?
Sure, go ahead and finish it up.
A madman's dreams are frightening, and sin appears indeed to terrify. And yet what sin perceives is but a childish game. The Son of God may play he has become a body, prey to evil and to guilt, with but a little life that ends in death. But all the while his Father shines on him and loves him with an everlasting love which he pretenses cannot change at all. I'll pass.
Okay, Betty.
How long, O Son of God, will you maintain the game of sin? Shall we not put away these sharp-edged children's toys? How soon will you be ready to come home? Perhaps today? There is no sin. Creation is unchanged. Would you still hold return to heaven back? How long, O Holy Son of God? How long?
How long, O Son of God, will you maintain the game of sin? Does it ever cross our mind that we are maintaining the game of sin? But isn't that exactly what we're doing?
As long as we're condemning
Yes.
anybody, we are.
Yes.
Exactly.
Every time we judge, that's what we're doing.
Yep. So what holds this world together? Well, the Course says that there are no laws of chaos, and then it tells us what the laws are. In other words, it's denying the reality of chaos in reality. But within chaos, it does have rules, and those are the rules of the game. So let's go to the laws of chaos on text page 489. Because what this section we're reading is what changes are necessary in the sons of God, or are changes necessary, is within the dream. And the dream is played by these rules. So I'm not going to have anybody read these laws, but I want people to go there, and I'm going to just summarize them quickly because this is a long section and we're not going to go through it. We're just going to get the 5 laws of chaos that are identified here. And the first one is in paragraph 2. And it says the first chaotic law is that the truth is different for everyone. Is there any dispute that that's the way this world, this game, this children's game is played? The truth is different for everyone. Everyone has their own truth. Relative to what? Relative to their separate self.
Their belief system.
Exactly.
Tom Carpenter one time said, truth has been the most divisive force in humankind.
Because we don't understand it.
Because it's my truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't understand
chaos.
real truth because
Yeah.
we don't understand reality.
Yeah.
Then just turn the page, and the second law of chaos is paragraph 4. The second law of chaos, dear indeed to every worshiper of sin, is that one must sin and therefore deserves attack and death. That's number 2 in the rules of the game that we're playing. Now, does that sound familiar? all you sinners, we're all sinners. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Got carried away. Everyone must sin. That's the game. And the Course really does tell us that we're guaranteed to make mistakes when we come into this game in a body. But if sin were real, it would be eternal, and we would be eternally atoning for it and suffering for it.
Eternally damned.
Yes. As if we could go ahead and attack God and actually succeed. Since we think we're trying to attack God, even though most of us say we're not doing that, we can't succeed. It's a mistake. There is no sin. But that's one of the rules of this world, of this children's game. 3 is probably one of the most fundamental ones. And to understand this one properly, because it's not spelled out like some of the others, I'm going to read paragraph 6. The arrogance on which the laws of chaos stand could not be more apparent than emerges here. Here's a principle that would define that what the creator of reality must be. Well, let me go up above here and read the last sentence in paragraph 5. And fear of God and of each other now appears as sensible, made real by what the Son of God has done to both himself and his Creator. What we have done to ourselves and our Creator. Where? In our minds. The arrogance on which the laws of chaos stand could not be more apparent than emerges here. Here's a principle that would define what the creator of reality must be. We decide in our minds what God is. What he must think and what he must believe and how he must respond, believing it. We have decided how God is in relation to us and how he must respond to us and our thoughts and beliefs about what we think God is. We've taken that upon ourselves. It is not seen as even necessary that he, our Creator, be asked about the truth of what has been established for his belief. His Son can tell him this, and he has but the choice whether to take his word for it or be mistaken. In other words, we know what we are. We're a sinner, and God has the choice of taking our word for it or be mistaken, because we know.
Can I just say something, Tom?
Yeah.
I think this is a wonderful thing to insert right at that point. And what this teaching says is God is but love and so are we. That statement fits there for me.
It fits perfectly there.
Yes.
Well, and the Course also says, you know nothing. That's pretty clear.
I am personally insulted with that. His Son can tell him this, and he has but the choice whether to take his word for it or be mistaken. This leads directly to the third preposterous belief that seems to make chaos eternal. For if God cannot be mistaken, he must accept his Son's belief in what he is, meaning the Son, and hate him for it, and hate the Son for it. In other words, if I'm a sinner and I think I know what God is, God must hate me, and he's got to take my word for it. We've condemned ourselves in this children's game. Until we realize that, we will not get out.
It is insane, isn't it?
Yes. Let's go to the fourth law of chaos, and that's in paragraph 9. The ego values only what it takes. This leads to the fourth law of chaos, which, if the others are accepted, must be true. This seeming law is the belief that you have what you have taken. By this, another's loss becomes your gain, and thus it fails to recognize that you can never take away save from yourself. And in the essence of time, I'm going to go to the final, the fifth law of chaos, which is on the next page, paragraph 12. But what is it you want that needs his death? We we talk about in above paragraph, our brother's treachery means we need his death, that we may live. Because if one gains, the other must lose. What is it you want that needs his death? Can you be sure your murderous attack is justified unless you know what it is for? And here, a final principle of chaos comes to the rescue. It holds there is a substitute for love. This is the magic, and we'll get into magic in the teacher's manual shortly, or maybe not that shortly. This is the magic that will cure all of your pain, the missing factor in your madness that makes it, quote, sane. This is the reason why you must attack. Here is what makes your vengeance justified. Behold, unveiled the ego's secret gift, torn from your brother's body, hidden there in malice and in hatred for the one to whom the gift belongs. He would deprive you of the secret ingredient that would give meaning to your life. The substitute for love, born of your enmity to your brother, must be salvation. It has no substitute, and there is only one. And all your relationships have but this purpose of seizing it and making it your own. We believe that someone else is going to have something that we're missing within ourselves, and they're keeping it from us. And if we could just join with the perfect someone, then we would be whole. But they keep keeping it from us. And so maybe we find another one that's supposed to be the perfect someone, the perfect relationship. And all of a sudden we're still not whole. Someone's keeping it from us. So what is the result of this? Let's go to paragraph 15 on the next page. These do not seem to be the goals of chaos, for by the great reversal, they appear to be the laws of order. How could it not be so? Chaos is lawlessness and has no laws. To be believed, its seeming laws must be perceived as real. Their goal of madness must be seen as sanity, and fear, with ashen lips and sightless eyes, blinded and terrible to look upon, is lifted to the throne of love. Its dying conqueror, its substitute, the Savior from salvation. How lovely do the laws of fear make death appear. Give thanks unto the hero of love's throne, who saved the Son of God for fear and death. The Course tells us there are only two emotions, love and fear. Where does the meaning of life lie for us? If not in our feelings, where is our meaning in life? Isn't it in our feelings? The only way to feel truly alive, for me, is to be feeling love or fear. Emotions. This is why if people aren't in the presence of love, fear is a substitute for feeling alive. That's the reason Vietnam vets say that when I felt most alive was on the battlefield, when I was right there. Most alive because so close to death, and because those two emotions are the only ones that we can choose between. So these are the law of chaos, and I don't want to spend any more time on them, but the reason I went there is because it's the game. It's the game of sin that we're playing. So we should play a new game. Well, how about the game of salvation? Okay, so everybody with me? Any questions?
For me, we were talking about movies that make you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That must be why I love those kinds of movies. They're my favorite kinds of movies. I don't like chasing or anything like that. But some people, love to go on roller coasters. Me, I love to go to a movie that makes me feel something. And that's probably why I've done so much work with the Share Heart people, is because they bring out the feelings in me. And I do feel better.
Boy, and you really need to be in a group like that where you know you're safe and can let your feelings come out.
Yeah. That group is safe for that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is so simple, and the more overlays we have in the story of chaos, in the way how we feel things operate in the world and how we're going to figure it all out and have answers or come up with answers or meet someone who's got the answers. Or it just seems to become more complicated. But I think it's still really, really simple when we can just drop all that and just get real simple and go straight to God. And I this keeps coming to me the whole time, and I haven't thought of it all this time I've been coming to this group. And all of a sudden, right now, as you're bringing us through all this story just keeps coming to me when I was 26. And I was in my first year working with the course, I believe. I think it was my first year. And there was I lived in this house with 4 roommates. We each had a bedroom in this house. Didn't have much money, none of us did. We were just barely getting by, and I was starting to go through school and stuff. Had like 3 jobs. And there was this street kid that I had met through somebody. And she was probably 15 years old, 15, 16. And through a number of circumstances, I wound up helping her to get a locker, like a small storage locker to keep her things because she had no place to put her things. And so my name was on her contract agreement for the locker. And somewhere down the line, I get a phone call from the storage place, saying she hasn't paid her bill, $80-something is due, like today, or her stuff's going to be all thrown out into the dumpster, all this stuff, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm on the phone with these people, and I haven't even got the $23 I need to pay my phone bill, and I'm trying to figure this out, and I'm thinking, what am I, how am I going to, and I start to feel really frustrated and bothered, that kind of feeling like, was this a bad idea to have helped this street kid, and that, I thought that, but then as that thought went through me, it was like, well, if she didn't pay her bill and I don't have the money to pay the bill, I guess the next thing is her stuff's all going to get thrown out. And that felt so not loving to me. Like I just felt like that's not really what I want to happen. And I just said to the person, okay, well, just let me think about this a minute. And I didn't have cell phones or anything. It's still a little I had the phone in my hand, and I click it onto the cradle, and I still had my hand on it. And in the matter of that movement, I just went inside, and I just prayed, and I said, I really don't want that to happen. What I really would love to have happen is for her to just somehow show up, and just be able to take care of her bill, and all of this to work out, and a loving solution for everybody. But I was so frustrated with feeling like financially strapped myself, not seeing any other kind of solution, that I just need help. I just need help with this. So I literally screamed. I screamed when my roommates came, like, what's going on? I said, and I still had my hand on. I said, God help me. I just screamed, and it seems so silly over an $80 thing, but that's how I felt. And I just screamed, and I said, me, and the phone goes ring. And I'm in shock that it's ringing, and I hadn't taken my hand off of it yet, and I pick it up, and it was her. It was the girl, and you have to get the thing here. Her name is Miracle. Nicole, this is Miracle. I just walked through the door of the storage place. So in that amount of time, she had come in the door and told them, no, I have the money right here. Don't throw my things out, and it's okay. And then I said, well, can we also arrange for me to let me come down there and let's change the contract? But it was so simple. It was like I didn't have a whole bunch of ways I could have planned it. It was like, this is going to happen or this. And want a loving solution, need help God. That was it. I didn't have all these different kinds of ways I could work it. I didn't have a credit card to call upon. I didn't have someone else to go to try to get some money. I didn't have, so I didn't have all these ways of planning. It was just this or this.
Well, I think that's what Tom was reading earlier when he talked about the message from Brother. When that is all you want, then it is simple. Then it all changes. What this whole book is about is apparently for most of us, that's not all we want all the time. So we're still removing the blocks. And I better move on here. Let's go to let's see. Here it is. Let's go to workbook page 286. And for sake of time, Tom, would you read paragraphs 12, 13, and 14 on page 286 of the workbook?
Sure. Salvation can be thought of as a game that happy children play. It was designed by one who loves his children and who would replace their fearful toys with joyous games, which teach them that the game of fear is gone. His game instructs in happiness because there is no loser. Everyone who plays must win, and in his winning is the game to everyone insured. The game of fear is gladly laid aside when children come to see the benefits salvation brings. You who have played that you are lost to hope, abandoned by your father, left alone in terror in a fearful world made mad by sin and guilt. Be happy now. The game is over. Now a quiet time has come in which we put away the toys of guilt and lock our quaint and childish thoughts of sin forever from the pure and holy minds of heaven's children and the Son of God. We pause for a moment more to play our final happy game upon this earth. And then we go to take our rightful place where truth abides and games are meaningless. So is the story ended. Let this day bring the last chapter closer to the world, that everyone may learn the tale he reads of terrifying destiny, defeat of all his hopes, his pitiful defense against a vengeance he cannot escape, is but his own deluded fantasy. God's ministers have come to waken him from the dark dreams the story has evoked in his confused, bewildered memory of this distorted tale. God's Son can smile at last on learning that it is not true.
It is not true. We're still going to have to deal with every aspect of it as long as we think it is true. But how often can we say, Brian, you want to do it for us?
This isn't real.
This isn't real. So, I wondered, where am I in this thing? Where's my reality in this game? What's going on? Is there a reason I'm here? Because there's something within me that animates even this body that is called life. And that's still me. That's the me that I think is in me, which I am in. If you really turn it to where it is. So I got something I liked from that. It's on page, in the text on page 611.
Casey said spirit is the life. So I think that's who you are. That's who we all are, spirit. But I don't think spirit can be divided up into pieces.
It can if they're all the same. then they're not really divided, but each is an aspect of the whole,
If they're-
mirroring every other aspect of the whole.
If they're holistic in nature.
That's the only way the Father can have a Son.
Yeah.
One Son of God. One child of God. That's it.
Well, this would be a whole good section to do, but let's just do, because I've got one final place I want to go. So let's do paragraphs 2 and 3. Dan, did you want to do that?
Sure. Think you the Father lost himself when he created you? Was he made weak because he shared his love? Was he made incomplete by your perfection? Or are you the proof that he is perfect and complete? Deny him not his witness in the dream his Son refers to his reality. He must be Savior from the dream he made, that he be free of it. He must see someone else as not a body, one with him, without the wall the world has built to keep apart all living things who know not that they live. Within the dream of bodies and of death is yet one theme of truth, no more, perhaps, than just a tiny spark, a space of light created in the dark where God still shines. You cannot wake yourself, yet you can let yourself be wakened. You can overlook your brother's dreams. So perfectly can you forgive him his illusions, he becomes your savior from your dreams. And as you see him shining in the space of light where God abides within the darkness, you will see that God himself is where his body is.
And it continues, the paragraph continues.
The coming of the light means it is gone. In glory will you see your brother then.
Before this one.
Yeah, where it says sentence 7 there,
Oh,
that's
okay,
a key
yeah.
sentence.
I should have got my glasses. Anyway.
Do you want to try those?
Yeah,
Try them.
that would be helpful. Thank you. Ah. I see the light. Before this light, the body disappears, as heavy shadows must give way to light. The darkness cannot choose that it remain. The coming of the light means it is gone. In glory will you see your brother then, and understand what really fills the gap so long perceived as keeping you apart. There in his place, God's witness has set forth the gentle way of kindness to God's Son. Whom you forgive is given power to forgive you your illusions. By your gift of freedom is it given unto you.
Deny him not, the Father, deny him not his witness in the dream. That's what we are. As teachers of God, we are witnesses within the dream. And we are the ones who will get to witness our brother's innocence to end the dream. And where is the dream? In our minds. Let's go to one final section here. And that is just a couple pages down, back, page 615 of the text. And this is a 6-paragraph section, and what I like about it is it sums up everything we've been talking about, the whole game, and all the changes, and what Section 9 of the Manual for Teachers said are changes necessary in the lives of the teachers of God. It does it all for us. So, Nicole, you tend to read loud and clear. If you would just read those 6 paragraphs, I'd appreciate that.
Are we starting on Section 6, forgiveness and the end of time?
Yes, we are. Sorry.
Okay. How willing are you to forgive your brother? How much do you desire peace instead of endless strife and misery and pain? These questions are the same in different form. Forgiveness is your peace. for herein lies the end of separation, and the dream of danger and destruction, sin and death, of madness and of murder, grief and loss. This is the sacrifice salvation asks, and gladly offers peace instead of this. Swear not to die, you holy Son of God. You make a bargain that you cannot keep. The Son of Life cannot be killed. He is immortal as his Father. What he is cannot be changed. He is the only thing in all the universe that must be one. What seems eternal, all will have an end. The stars will disappear, and night and day will be no more. All things that come and go, the tides, the seasons, and the lives of men, all things that change with time and bloom and fade will not return. Where time has set an end is not where the eternal is. God's Son can never change by what men made of him. He will be as he was and as he is, for time appointed not his destiny, nor set the hour of his birth and death. Forgiveness will not change him, yet time waits upon forgiveness, that the things of time may disappear because they have no use. Nothing survives its purpose. If it be conceived to die, then die it must unless it does not take this purpose as its own. Change is the only thing that can be made a blessing here, where purpose is not fixed, however changeless it appears to be. Think not that you can set a goal unlike God's purpose for you and establish it as changeless and eternal. You can give yourself a purpose that you do not have, but you cannot remove the power to change your mind and see another purpose there. Change is the greatest gift God gave to all that you would make eternal, to ensure that only heaven would not pass away. You were not born to die. You cannot change because your function has been fixed by God. All other goals are set in time, and change that time might be preserved, excepting one. Forgiveness does not aim at keeping time, but at its ending, when it has no use. Its purpose ended, it is gone. And where it once held seeming sway is now restored the function God established for his Son in full awareness. Time can set no end to its fulfillment nor its changelessness. There is no death because the living share the function their Creator gave to them. Life's function cannot be to die. It must be life's extension, that it be as one forever and forever without end. This world will bind your feet and tie your hands and kill your body only if you think that it was made to crucify God's Son. For even though it was a dream of death, you need not let it stand for this to you. Let this be changed, and nothing in the world but must be changed as well. For nothing here but is defined as what you see it for. How lovely is the world whose purpose is forgiveness of God's Son. How free from fear, how filled with blessing and with happiness. And what a joyous thing it is to dwell a little while in such a happy place. Nor can it be forgot. In such a world, it is a little while till timelessness comes quietly to take the place of time.
So thanks for going all the way through that. It leaves us a few minutes to talk about this last section in relation to Section 9 of the Manual for Teachers, which says, are changes required in the lives of the teachers of God? And of course it said in the minds of the teachers of God, yes. But it says it's gradual, and it's training. And it's a different kind of training because we've trained ourselves to the way of the world, the laws of chaos, to the rules of the play. What keeps us from moving faster? Because our foundation will crumble too fast. If all of a sudden all the sick people in every hospital rose up and said, I have no use for this, and walked out the door, what would that look like to you?
Broken hospitals.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We keep this game alive. We maintain it because it's all we know. We think it's all we know. So, setting aside our personal, being personally insulted, there is an answer if we learn to make no decisions by ourselves. But until we want that, have no other God but me, as Tom read from Brother, until we want it that way, we're going to have to do it in increments, a little bit at a time. What we can do now, in my mind, is make room for miracles. Don't hold on to the way it's always been as the way it has to be, because we are maintaining the old dream. Allow the young people to have a new dream. Let's not talk to our young people and say, well, this is how it was done in my day, as if that was right. I'll get off my soapbox. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Oh, that was a good soapbox.
Thanks.
I just thought of something, and I've found as a great way to undo my ego. And for me, it is experiencing, I guess, the repetition of the things I have done throughout my life led me to a book called Good Karma. And it's written by a Buddhist nun, but it's not for Buddhists. You know, I mean, it uses that terminology, but it talks about karma, which is physical, of course, the physical aspect of living. And it's been really, for me, we've all had ego issues, but I feel like mine have been in spades. But it's really helped me to see the things that I continually repeat.
Karma is the key, isn't it? Because and what does the Course say? There is no past unless you bring it with you.
Yeah, bingo, yeah, exactly. And the things that have afflicted me, I think, I couldn't put my finger on it because it probably didn't happen in this lifetime. It was probably something that happened some other time that I brought with me, because I could never remember, why do I do this?
If think about that for a second. If it happened in another lifetime of yours, outside of time, they're all happening at the same time.
Right.
Which means they're not happening at all. It's all the same dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's all connected dreams.
Yeah.
What makes it yours?
Well,
what makes it yours? You know, what makes you think you own those dreams about your lifetimes?
Right. The thing when and you're absolutely right. It's just that. Okay, why do I?
Why aren't they mine?
Why
aren't they mine?
Because
we're all connected.
I'm not. It's not me. I got to get rid of me. I got to get rid of the false me. But it allows me to understand why that false me sometimes does what it does. And once I see that, then I can let it. And I know I need to let it go right now, but it's easier for me to let it go once.
What I'm saying is that this image you see in front of you right now, that I've called me, is a character in a play. And what part of all of our minds, when they're joined, couldn't play any part?
Doesn't play any part.
Yeah.
Pardon?
I say it doesn't play any part.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think.
So whose karma is it?
The main teaching eventually in this book is to let it all go. To let it go, no matter what it is.
That's what it's this book about too. I think.
Yeah, sure. To let go of your attachments to anything.
No, karma is a killer. It's what holds us to the rules of the game. I know there's no pun intended, but Tom got it. Yes, it's a killer.
Yeah. But before being able to see that, I kept saying, why? And now there is no why, because I finally had a chance to see it for what it isn't, I guess.
I like that. I've had a chance to see it for what it isn't. I like that a lot.
And it's liberating. It really is.
What part of this dream do we insist is real? That's where we are.
Fortunately, every loving thought is saved for us, so we don't have to try to pick them out ourselves. Well, Patty and I won't be here for the next 2 weeks, so don't have any revelations without us.
I'm never going to join you there. You'll be right along with us.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We usually do. We find a way.
We'll have revelations for you.
Good.
And you're included. You don't have to be at the table, and you get to have them.
Well, it was a trick question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.